Hello, and welcome to the Hussey Revit Family's video demonstration. Today we're going to be taking a look at the MAXAM gym bleachers that have been developed by Revitus, Revit content developers. Let's get started. Here we're looking at an example floor plan of a gymnasium suite. Spectators would enter through these doors into a gym lobby and then filter into the gymnasium. This floor plan currently has gym court lines, basketball backstops at either end, and a volleyball system in the middle. What it doesn't have yet is any bleachers. That's what we're going to take a look at now. The architect will go to the Hussey website and download the Revit files for free and place them into his standard Revit content library. Then he'll be ready to bring them into his project. He'll go to the Home tab, click to place a component, and then choose to load a family. Revit will default to his standard Revit content library. He'll scroll down to the Specialty Equipment folder and then open up the Hussey Seating Company folder. Inside he'll find a MAXAM Telescopic Gym Bleachers folder, and inside of that he'll find the two files that have been created for Revit. The first one we're going to look at is the Telescopic Bleacher for the MAXAM. He'll choose it and click Open and be presented with a dialog box that will show him all of the types that can be brought in. They're all based on the row rise and row spacing criterion per the specifications of the MAXAM products, and all of the types have been pre-configured. Now all the architect has to do is choose which ones he wants to bring in. For our example, let's say that the architect is pretty sure he's going to use a 24-inch row spacing, but he's not exactly sure how much headroom he has. He can load all three of the different heights for the row rises to be safe, and we'll do that now. So you select those three and just click OK. Revit will then go ahead and start to load in the components, and once it's finished loading, he'll be presented with the icon of what the component will look like. He's going to fill this space in with a bank of bleachers, and it's not quite configured or oriented the way he wants to install these. So all he has to do is click the space bar to rotate it around until he gets the desired effect, and then click to place it anywhere. After that, he'll click the Modify tab. The first thing he'll probably do is analyze this a little bit to see what kind of functionality has been incorporated into this Revit component. So he'll select it, and he'll look at all the options on this Properties window. This bleacher is going to end up in this corner and stretch down this way. So these railings won't be necessary on the left side. So to turn those off, it's very easy. You just select the component, and on the Properties window, there's Show End Rails Right and Show End Rails Left. Just uncheck Show End Rails Left, and they'll turn off. Now he'll go to the Modify tab, grab his Align tool so that he can place this component against the wall. He'll choose to align it to the wall and choose the back of the bleachers. What he could do now is simply align them down to this corner as well, and then align and stretch the component all the way to fill that whole thing in. That would offer a very schematic option for placing a bleacher layout in a gymnasium, but we've actually given him a little bit more flexibility than that to configure the bleachers more along the lines of what he'll be looking for. I'm going to undo the last two steps to show you what I mean. Again, we're going to do the Align tool, but we're not going to move it down, we're going to move it up to put it in this corner. So we're going to pick that wall, and then instead of clicking to stretch it, if the architect clicks the Tab button and then picks, the entire bleacher bank will move instead of stretching, just to give him a little bit more flexibility. Now we're going to go ahead and load in the other component, which is the aisle family that will complement this one. So again, back to the Home tab, he'll place another component and he'll load another family. He'll go to the same location under Specialty Equipment, Hussey Seating, MAXAM, except this time he'll load the aisle family. Again, the same dialog box, or this very similar dialog box, will be presented, and he'll go ahead and choose the same three types to complement the other ones that were already loaded. Again, Revit will now load in the aisle family, And once it's done loading, he'll see the graphic of it on the cursor. Again, spacebar to rotate it around to the proper orientation. Click to place it anywhere. Modify. Now the aisle family is going to abut right next to the bleacher family, so we won't need these rails, and we won't need these rails on the aisle either. So he'll select the bleacher bank, and he'll turn the rails off from the right side of it. Then he'll select the aisle family and turn the rails off of that as well. Now he'll execute the align tool again to configure his aisle family to be against the wall. Now he's going to align the aisle to the bleacher. And when we do that, you'll notice this padlock. So if we lock that, we've actually constrained the two objects to remain connected. So now even if we change the size of the length of this bleacher bank, the aisle will move with it. So instead of an 18-foot bank length, let's change this to a 9-foot. And you see that the aisle went with it. Now we're ready to continue building our bleacher bank based on these two components. So I'm just going to copy an instance of each one down. And then again, I'm going to align, move it, and lock it. Align, move it, and lock it. This section of bleachers can be 16 foot 6 inches long, so I'm going to go ahead and make that change now. The other bleacher moved, or the aisle family moved as it needed to, and now we can complete the last segment of our bleacher bank by pulling this one down. We'll go ahead and align and lock it the same way as we've done the rest to complete our bleacher bank. Here, however, since we're not against a wall and we'll end up coming out further, we'll want rails. So we'll just go ahead and turn those on now. And there they are. Now the architect's ready to see how many seats or how many rows of bleachers he can get in to really come out tight to the chord lines. So what he's going to do is select all 5 of these components, and over on the instance-based properties again, there's a number of tiers parameter. It's an integer, so he could simply type in any whole number that he wants to use for the number of tiers, or you can just click the toggle up until he thinks it's going to get out pretty close. So we'll start with 10 and see how that does. Okay, so it's a rate amount. There's now 10 tiers of seating, which gives us a lot more seats in our gym, but we still can go a little bit further. So let's add another one. We'll go up to 11 and see how that works. Yep, that's more like it. So we've got our 24-inch row. Currently we're at our 9 5/8 inch rise, and that's looking pretty good for what we want in our gymnasium. So now for the architect to finish this out, we're going to have the same type of bank on the other side flanking the doors to get into the gym. Very simple to do. Just select those 5. He'll choose the mirror command, and he'll draw it based on the midpoint, and he'll mirror those down to the other side. Just like that, he's doubled his seat count in the gym for his bleachers. And there they are. When we do that, just keep in mind that now these will be the show end rails right instead of the left because we use the mirror command, which is perfectly fine. Now we're ready to finish out our gym bleacher layout by developing them on the other side as well. So we're going to take this component and we're going to copy it, place one over here, spacebar twice to rotate it 180 degrees, and we'll pull it down here somewhere loose for now. We also need an aisle, and for the other side, because our doors are flanking and our layout will be a little bit different, we're actually going to start with an aisle on the ends. So I'm going to pull that one down here. I'm going to align it to the wall. I'm also going to align it to this door jamb. And then I'm going to give us a little bit of flexibility and move it up 2 feet, just for some clearance. Now we're going to need some rails on the end. So again, we'll do show end rails left and we'll turn those on. Then we're going to align our gym bleacher bank to there. And then we'll pretty much repeat the same process of aligning and locking. Now for this one, since we have a lot of space in here, I'm going to max this bank out at our full 25 foot 6 inch allowance for our run. Then same as before, I'm going to copy an aisle up. I'm going to turn the rails off, and I'm going to align and lock it. I'll take another run of bleachers, and I will align and lock it. Now here I want the center of this bleacher bank to be centered on my court. The easiest way to do that is going to be to draw a temporary line so that I can determine how far off the center I am right now. So if I measure from that line down, I see that I'm 12.6. 12.6 doesn't really work too well with my 18-inch typical spacing. So I'm going to just reposition these slightly by selecting all of them, activating my dimensions, and making it a nice clean 12 feet, which is conducive to my 18-inch seat spacing. Then I'm going to take this bank, and since 12 is half of what it wants to be, I'm going to make this 24 feet. And now that bank will be centered on my court. I'm going to delete my temporary line, and I'm going to copy another aisle family up, and I'm going to align and lock it. Then I'm going to copy my same maxed out 25-foot 6-inch space, since I know it will fit, and I will align and lock it. And I'll complete this bank and in fact my gym layout for the bleachers by ending with this aisle family at the top. And I'll go ahead and turn the end rails on to the right side of them, and there you have it. So in just that short amount of time, we've pretty much laid out a nice looking gym bleacher layout for this gymnasium. It's pretty much ready now to be sent off to Hussey to receive some shop drawings and have them review it to make sure that it meets all the codes and is in compliance with, you know, all the codes that need to be met. But I want to show you a little bit more of the functionality that we've built in for the architects to kind of help them out a little bit. So if he's wondering whether or not these are going to stack when they're in the closed position and have this wing wall come out far enough, we've made that simple as well. You can just select this whole bank of bleachers, and over here on the graphics is called a parameter called show in open position. So if we uncheck that, by default show in stowed position will become checked, and these will actually collapse against the wall. The dimensions have been coordinated with the specifications, so no matter what your row spacing is, whether it's 22, 23, 24 inch spacing or 26 inch spacing, the open and closed dimensions will always be true to the specifications. The architect can now verify based on that he has a clean corner here and he's in good shape. He doesn't need to relocate this wall to satisfy that. And as you can see, that is an instance-based property, which means that all of these ones can be closed and all these ones can be open, even though they're the same components. Additionally, what we've provided them with, I'm going to go ahead and turn on our colors to show our shading. And what we see here is that all the bleachers are currently blue. So what we have the option to do is we could select this one and change the color of the seats. We could actually select all of the instances in the entire project, and it got all of the ones that aren't the aisle families. Then we could come back and select all the aisles as well, because we want to change all the seat colors to match. Although you wouldn't have to. The aisles or any bank can be a different color than any other bank. Again, it's an instance-based material, and it's called seat material. So when you pull up this dialog box, you'll see that when we loaded in the Hussey bleachers, all of the standard materials came in as well. So if we wanted to change these to bright yellow to have yellow seats, we would just click it there. Then all of these will update. Revit will analyze all of the bleacher families in the current model that we have selected, and it will make the change. There you have it. So now we have yellow bleachers. They'll hold true to your photorealistic renderings, and another nice feature that we've built in is actually a type-based product, a type-based parameter if you wanted to change the seat type. So by default, they'll come in with the XC10 courtside seat. However, if you choose to edit the type and you want to specify a different type of seat, under construction, you'll see seat type. And if you just click down the drop-down box, you'll see that we've built in all three options. So you can have the classic wood seat, the courtside XC10, or the courtside XC12. Now, because this is a type-based property, making this change will change all of the instances of this type. And you'll see what I mean. When we click OK, if you take a look at this seat here, you'll actually see that it will adjust slightly to become the XC12 because it's the same type as this. And there it went. Then you have to repeat the same process for the aisle family, which will again occur for all of the aisle families of this type. So you would change those to the XC12, and then top row of seats at the top of the aisles will update to be the XC12 as well. There you go. Additional functionality that we've built in. So now maybe the architect, maybe he knew that he wanted 24-inch row spacing, but we said he didn't quite know how much headroom he had. So let's help him figure it out. So if he cuts a building section through his building to help analyze our elevations and our height. So here's a section, and let's not look quite as far down to see all the way to the end. And we'll change our level of detail to fine so we get some more detail in here. So here's what the Hussey bleachers look like in a section view. And we're seeing multiple components. You see an aisle family, which has the front step in it. And you see a bleacher bank, which has the end rails on it. And we can start to analyze our height. It looks like we have a lot of height available, so we don't have to be limited to this 9 5/8 inch rise. So what we can do is come back in here, again select all of the instances in the entire project, and we can bump those up by changing the type to be either 11 5/8 inch rise or even 16 inch rise. So let's just go to that one, and we'll really max out our rise to give people a good view. And it will change all of these from being the 9 5/8 inch type to the 16 inch rise type. And this is where the type-based properties come back to. Because we edited the type for the 9 5/8 inch rise to have the XC12 seats, we would have to again do the same thing to the 16 inch rise because it's a different type. We're going to leave them as XC10 for now because it's not that critical for what we're doing. What is critical is that you also select your aisle family, select them all, and have them match the 16 inch rise. Revit will again analyze all of those and make the change that you've specified. So now when we go back to our section, you'll see that our vertical height is much higher. Again, each one of these components will report the top deck height, 14.8 in this case, based on the number of tiers, the overall unit height, the overall unit depth, the open and closed dimensions, as well as the bank length, which you can change. You can't change any of these parameters because they're all driven by formulas that satisfy the rules of the specifications, so they'll always be correct. Again, even in section view, you could take these components and you could choose to stow them up against the wall. That's the beauty about Revit. The building information model really means that a change anywhere is a change everywhere. So now those are stowed. We could simply undo that. Another thing that the architect really might want to get a good understanding for is what kind of a view would these people have from these seats. So all he has to do in the section view is pull out his tape measure tool, and let's say that we're going to sit all the way up on the second to last bleacher. So eye level might be about here, just roughly, and it's about 15 foot 4 inches. So then back in our floor plan view, and let's say that he's going to sit in up on this seat, all the way in the corner. And we'll go ahead and create a camera eye. And he'll look off into the space into the gym here. All we have to do is raise the eye elevation up to what we measured it to be, 15 foot 4 inches. And now we've pretty much placed a person right in that seat. And this is the field of view that he would have. Another beautiful part about Revit is that we can grab our view cube and he can just start to look around. So he's going to stay seated in the seat where he is, but he can just look around. He sees a couple of mat hoists for wrestling mats up there, sees the trusses, sees some of the gym equipment, sees the bleachers in the distance, some cow wall. And you can really get a good study of sight lines by doing these types of things. And it's very easy to do. And even from there, the architect could walk it around to different seats. He could move up and down. He could orbit, just look around. Another useful tool for helping him really understand what kind of a view the spectators are going to have. Just to show you a little bit more about the functionality and what these families offer, if you select any one of the components and choose Edit Type, we've also built in additional material options so that he can really control his renderings for riser material, front closure material, which is all the way out of the front, as well as the end rail materials. And again, since these can be painted in any of the 15 standard colors for the MAXAM, they're all available. Just click the button, the ellipsis to bring up the materials dialog box, and you have access to all of those to change the end rail materials. Because those are type-based, a change to one will be a change to all of them of that type. Again, we covered the seat type. We've also included some informational text parameters to instruct the architect as to what the minimum bank length and maximum bank lengths are, as well as what the typical increment of the seats are. Again, row spacing and row rise are grayed out. They cannot be changed, so they cannot be in conflict with the specifications. Under identity data, we've given the architect direct access to arrive at more information from Hussey, from the manufacturer, directly. There is a product page URL which will take them straight to the website, straight to Hussey Seating page for the MAXAM products, in case he wants to read more about them or get more information. Additionally, we've given him a URL straight to the Hussey homepage. We've also given him contact information for the phone number and even the email contact. The reason this is useful is that the architect would want to export this layout and send AutoCAD drawing files to the manufacturer to get reviewed and get shop drawings. Revit makes this very easy to do. He would simply go to the Revit application icon, come down to Export, choose CAD formats and DWG files. Give you a preview of what you're going to export. You could even do multiple views all at one shot if you wanted to. Click Next. It'll ask you which version of AutoCAD you want to save it in. Save it out to a location on your desktop or on your computer. And click OK, and it will actually export that file to be an AutoCAD file. Then what the architect would do would be to come back into this Edit Type dialog box, choose the email contact, click a button. It'll automatically default and launch your standard email with the proper address of where it needs to go to, and then type in Hussey drawings for review, or whatever it may be. Then attach that file to it and send it off for review and more help. Additionally, we've given you the mailing address as well as a description of what this product is. We've also identified ourselves as Revitus, the creators of the content, and given you access to our website as well, in case you want to learn more about the services that we offer for developing Revit content. We've also included a CSI master format spec code, as well as a BIM version, to ensure that the architect is always working with the most current files. One other thing that we haven't looked at that happens automatically in the background is that as we add any new bleacher component, Revit will automatically track and schedule it. So if we look at a sheet file that I have already set up, here's our gym layout, and here's our bleacher schedule. All of this content has been filled out on the fly as soon as we add a component. I'll show you what I mean. If I activate this view and I create another one of these by using create similar and I place it, you'll see the schedule will update automatically. If I deactivate this view, there's now 18 of them, and the total length, which is being reported of all of the bleacher families, is 189 feet. Information that can be reported are the mark, so you could identify each one of these individually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they would correspond to the schedule, and then you could tag them on your floor plans. The manufacturer, the model number, the length of each one, what the row spacing and row rise are, the number of tiers in each bank, open and closed dimensions, top deck height, overall unit height, what the seat type is, and what the seat material is, among other things if necessary. This is just one example of what a bleacher schedule might report. Again, the beauty is that a change anywhere is a change everywhere. So if you were to change your bleacher layout, you don't have to worry about going out and updating your schedule. It does it automatically. There's now only 17 and it's 180 feet long total length of bleachers. Additionally, this schedule can be exported to Excel, TXT, CSV, a good number of different formats that can again be sent out to Hussey for review and use with other tools. That's pretty much a look at the brand new Hussey, MAXAM, Gym Bleacher, Revit families. Hope you've enjoyed.